Comcast. I will never understand why the sliver of the moon is somehow inside the moon, and if... Wait. Oh, no. Did DreamWorks Animation Marvelize their opening logo? No, DreamWorks! Bad DreamWorks! Drop it! Bad! Bad! Also including Boss Baby in your anything, ever. Also, where are the Croods? Madagascar, Turbo, the Bee from B-Movie? What about Moses?
That was 4 sins on the freaking logos. Yep, I can already tell that they're gonna struggle to find anything wrong in this fantastic film.
Also, peroration.
That terrible pun.
Needing to clarify a swashbuckling talking cat's relationship to reality.
And to also remind you that this is set in the Shrek universe. Remember, this movie came out 11 years after the last Puss in Boots movie and 12 years after the final Shrek movie, so people are going to need a reminder for what kind of world this is, or even for the new fans.
And we will never wash it again.
Encouraging bad hygiene as a response to your child's budding interest in BDSM.
You somehow brought up BDSM in a scene where a cat steps on a kid's face?
In order for this to make any sense, this horse here would have had to do a full 360 while standing on his hind legs. And if that happened, you show me that
Of course, CinemaSins are going to take an animated movie where magical things happen at face value. Was anybody thinking this when they saw this movie?
You awoke the sleeping giant of Del Mar!
with some fireworks? How does this town not get destroyed every time there's a thunderstorm?
I'm pretty sure this giant woke up to destroy the town because the fireworks annoyed him and he knows that somebody needs to light them in order for them to launch. I have no idea how you can compare fireworks to a freaking thunderstorm, but here we are.
This could be said for the majority of the movie, so let's just add a few cents here for Puss in Boots surviving any of this. And yes, I realize he actually will die in a minute, so you might see the irony, but I see you off and me still giving this movie cents.
Okay, I know you're gonna constantly question cartoon physics in an animated movie, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add 20 cents so I don't have to keep repeating myself.
Might as well get this off my chest right now. This movie is gorgeous. The almost cel-shaded effect of the environment, the use of different frame rates, the visualizations of the movements. You didn't have to go this hard for PIB dose, but you did. So go ahead and take the cent off before I remember this is the Shrek universe.
You had me up until you mentioned the Shrek universe, as if this movie being connected to those movies is a bad thing. Dude, 3 out of the 4 mainline Shrek movies are great, and including this movie, that makes 4 out of 6 Shrek movies being amazing. So I'm just gonna chalk this up to having a different opinion and your opinion not being law.
Watching Puss in Boots fight with a giant made me realize that these few seconds are better than the entirety of the last Hellboy movie, which is a good thing, but also you made me remember that last Hellboy movie.
Acknowledges that this is better than the last Hellboy movie, sends it anyway.
Hey, you want to see something cool?
Breaking the fourth wall to ask a rhetorical question.
He was talking to the giant, not the audience? Even if this was supposed to be a joke, I didn't laugh, so then that would mean this sin is for an unfunny joke.
It is more important for Puss to draw his trademark in the dirt than to move out of the way of a falling giant. A giant that will 100% cover up everything Puss etched in the dirt anyway.
I can't believe I have to explain this to you, but here we go. The whole reason this opening sequence is in the movie is to establish Puss's biggest character flaw. He's arrogant and too worried about people looking at him and saying he's awesome. This arrogance leads to him losing 8 of his 9 lives, and that makes him realize that he's been wasting those lives, and so that leads to death coming after him. This is literally the catalyst for the whole plot of this movie.
You died.
Duh. He was crushed by a giant bell. He should be reduced to a pancake fur-covered bag of bone dust. Do cats regenerate?
Yes.
Take it easy, Doctor. Let's see. There was the running of the bulls in Pamplona.
And this will continue to show us all 8 times Puss in Boots has died. Because there's nothing a child likes to see more in their movie than dead cat montages.
Sending this hilarious montage.
That makes 8, Puss. You are down to your last life. My prescription? No more adventures for you.
But at least half of those deaths were not adventure-based. Puss could die by crossing the street at the wrong time.
That's true, but the point the doctor is making is that adventures are more likely to kill him, so he's trying to limit Puss's chances of dying again.
Treats? Why would your treats all be fish-shaped? You don't only work on cats. And honestly, it's a bit insensitive to your fish clients.
Maybe he has specific treats for the dogs and fish as well, and this just happened to be the treats for cats.
Retire. You are too good looking to retire.
Vanity.
That's the point. How many times do I have to explain to you that character flaws are not sins?
Well, well. If it isn't Puss in Boots himself.
Talking to someone at a bar without their explicit consent.
You really think a villain would care about consent?
Why does Puss have 8 empties strewn around here when he's the only one in the bar? Just reuse your glass, man. The bartender and the planet are begging you.
You're missing the symbolism in this scene. Puss has died 8 times and he's down to his 9th and final life. Here there are 8 glasses and he's currently drinking his 9th and final one.
Everyone thinks they'll be the one to defeat me. But no one's escaped me yet.
But let me guess, Puss in Boots will, not for any logical or earned reasons, but because movies got a movie.
Wait a minute, you're saying Puss's reason for escaping death wasn't earned? Did you not pick up on any of the clever storytelling this movie has?
The only way it's possible for the moon to be this large is if Roland Emmerich is forcing John Bradley to spout bullshit science to Halle Berry and Patrick Wilson again.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche.
Scolding a cat for using a human toilet instead of using him to make yourself millions off selling the movie rights to Pickles, the cat who can pee standing up.
You're saying this as if this lady should be surprised by this? In a world where a princess turns into an ogre and marries another ogre and is friends with a talking donkey who marries a dragon and has kids with that dragon? Do I have that right?
It's over.
Oh no. Wanna rub my belly?
This laugh.
I don't care if he's a textbook comic relief sidekick in an animated movie. I love Perito, and I'm taking a sin off. But also textbook comic relief sidekick in an animated movie cliche. So I guess I do care.
So wait, do you like Perito or not? You remove the sin for you liking him, but then add a sin because he's a good comic relief character? Does that make any sense to anyone?
Can we switch over to following Mama Luna then? Because I'm way more interested in the piano stuffing story than anything I've seen in this movie so far.
Saying you're more interested in a random throwaway line than the best animated movie of 2022.
Dead? No, he can't be.
Yep, the nose never lies.
That grave would take one of the bears about 3 seconds to dig up. Why wouldn't they check it?
Have you ever seen someone dig up a grave just to confirm someone is dead? Look, I'm fine with this check if the good guy is dead nitpick for other movies where the bad guys do something to supposedly kill the good guy, but then that doesn't actually kill him, making the bad guy look stupid. But in this case, they literally see a grave. I feel like that's all the proof you need.
This movie is being super flippant with its wanted posters. Are all of these characters really wanted by the police? And if so, how terrible is the Storyland police force if they can't catch any of them? They're not even trying to remain hidden.
Have you seen all the things that Jack has that he can use to defend himself?
I'm a real boy, no strings attached. Thank you.
2023 really was the year of Pinocchio, huh?
Nope, you mean 2022, which had 3 Pinocchio movies and another Pinocchio in this movie, which came out last year. To quote another video that I'm currently working on, how is it you have millions of subscribers and you can't even proofread your script?
Would you stop talking about blooming pies? Focus!
I'm sorry, but every one of those Lilliputians was dead long before she broke that glass. Unless they somehow vacuumed inertia out of that bottle.
Sitting this hilariously dark scene.
Being this careless with your priceless collection. And everyone knows you never take a collectible out of the box. I'm starting to doubt his seriousness as a collector.
Did you forget that Big Jack Horner is a bad guy or something?
I'll get you, my kitties, and your little dog too.
Not subtitling your movie The Wizard of Paws.
So the movie's title should have been parodying The Wizard of Oz because of one reference? So does that mean Infinity War should be renamed Infinity Aliens because they made an Aliens reference?
What?
Dog? Still alive?
Why does Puss think Perito can hear him now? Does Puss in Boots even know how to portal? Because I don't think he does.
Not all portals are like this. Remember the portals in the MCU? How you can still talk to each other even though you and the other person would be on opposite sides of it? This is probably what Puss thought this portal was.
This idea of a map that transforms the path based on the user is clever and stunningly executed. Am I taking another sin off? Is it possible a movie from the Shrek universe is actually f***ing good?
Again, I appreciate the sin removal, but you just implied the other Shrek movies aren't good again. Dude, Shrek the Third is the only bad Shrek movie. Come on.
I don't even have a wish, but Can I try it?
So if the map gives you the path of whatever is in your heart, then wouldn't that also mean whomever's path is selected would be the one to get the wish? How would Puss or Kitty get to make a wish if they used Perito's path? The lack of rules given for this map is very frustrating.
No, the movie is telling you that whatever path the world is, that's the path that anyone can travel down. You just made an assumption based on nothing.
Why are you so ridiculous, dog? What's your story?
Is Perito's story that he's a discount Olaf? I mean, if he started singing about how much he loves summer, I would not be surprised.
Well, no, that's not his story, so what's the sin here? Or were you just trying to make a random Frozen reference? If so, Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Judge you. Why, sit on your shoulder and judge your actions and the quality of your character. I'm your conscience.
Jiminy Stewart's showing up here is hilarious, but why does he have 2 pant legs instead of 4? Still, this scene is now the 3rd best Pinocchio movie of the year. Congrats!
Are you saying that either the Pauly Shore Pinocchio movie or the Disney live-action Pinocchio movie is better than this?
Why does this work but the chopping didn't? I need to know why the magical regenerating flowers could only magically regenerate in specific ways.
Clearly, the movie is telling you that fire is the flower's weakness. You could have figured that out by simply watching the movie.
Pulling foam out of non-foamy water and then using a dagger as scissors to cut the beard off an animal that shouldn't grow a beard.
Narration.
Give us the map, or else the Baker Man gets it.
How convenient that everyone arrived here within a few seconds of each other. But how did Goldilocks, Pops, and 2 other barrels even get through the flowers? And what was up with the River of Relaxation? Did it have an obstacle? Did the other groups just skip it somehow?
You're asking for some extra, unimportant scenes that would have only padded the runtime. Come on, man, not everything in a movie needs to be explained. This is a movie, not a documentary.
You've just been crimed by the Three Bears crime family.
Can we just talk for a second about how Goldilocks ended up here after breaking and entering the bear's house? In the original fairy tale, they try to eat her and she runs away, which makes sense. But here, apparently, after they adopted her, they all decided, let's have this young woman be our crime syndicate leader. And what in the reverse Stockholm is going on here?
Bringing up the original Goldilocks story means nothing. And I have to ask again, would knowing this information really make the movie better?
Not a big-time crime syndicate, love. A big-time crime family. Isn't that right, Goldie?
Referring to your employment situation and your coworkers as a family. I don't care if they actually are family. That's still messed up. Don't do that.
Dominic Toretto would like to have a word.
So, I ran.
Did you run so far away? Did you get away? Sudden flock of seagulls references aside, I saw you leave and it could be best described as a slow mope. There was no running involved.
Taking this sentence at face value, seriously, you are struggling to find sins in this movie. I can tell.
You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
Indeed, which is funny, sure, but also kind of steals the ability of the movie to have any kind of nuance about its central villain. Am I sinning a children's movie for not having nuance? Does a bear make porridge in the woods of varying temperatures?
Big Jack Horner is meant to be an homage to old school Disney villains like Maleficent or Jafar, in that they're irredeemable villains that are evil for evil's sake, but are also enjoyably fun to watch. So no, I disagree with this sentiment, especially considering this movie has plenty of nuance already.
I do love the smell of fear.
Since fear itself does not have a distinctive odor, I think what you mean to say, Wolf, was that you love the smell of the body's reactions from someone or something that fears you, which would most likely be a mix of sweat, urine, and feces. I guess we like what we like, but I'm still judging you a little.
Considering this is death we're talking about, I'm pretty sure his senses work differently.
I'm getting a family. That's what, a proper family.
What, are you trying to give this character nuance? Just let her be an irredeemable villain. This is a children's movie, for f***'s sake.
So you earlier sinned Jack Horner for having no nuance, but then you sinned Goldilocks for being an interesting character with a really good arc? What do you want?
What is that?
Goldie and the bears are still there? Why aren't they still trying to get the map away from Puss? And if you say they had a change of heart, so help me, I will hug you, but not a fun hug. It will be the hug where you feel like your insides are about to pop out. And right as you think I'm releasing you, I will strike your nose with my forehead and you will be covered in blood and regrets. What can I say? I'm a hugger.
Yes, Goldilocks had a change of heart. She wanted the map to get a real family, but then she realized that the bears were a real family all along. Honestly, it's one of the most obvious arcs in this movie that even kids can pick it up.
What's the matter? Lives flashing before your eyes?
No. Just one.
Also, the lesson here appears to be if you have the chance to save your life that involves no fighting, throw that possibility out the window and go ahead and have an unnecessary fight. Yeah, that sounds like a great lesson. Fighting is always the answer, kids.
No, the lesson here is that you can't escape death and you're going to have to face it at some point. I genuinely can't believe that you don't understand the message this movie is trying to teach, and that's one of the reasons this movie is so freaking good.
Pick it up. I know I can never defeat you, Lobo.
Also, this works. I'm not kidding. Wolf leaves after this. Keep watching. It's f***ing unreal.
Death wanted to kill Puss early because he was annoyed at how arrogant he was about wasting his 8 previous lives. Now Puss has decided to live his final life to the best of his ability and not waste it, meaning Death's mission is now ruined and he has to wait to kill him later. This is what I was talking about earlier when I say that Puss' escape death was earned, and I'm adding 10 sins for you not getting that.
Clearly, Jack Horner went to the every villain ever school of not actually being dead, but waiting until the most opportune time to resurrect themselves.
He probably had to find that potion that makes him gigantic.
What have you done?
I'm confused too, Giant Jack Horner. Puss still had time to make his wish. Why is no one shouting out a wish?
Let's break this down. Puss's wish was to get his 9 lives back, but then he changed his mind. Kitty wanted someone she could trust, but then she befriended Puss and Perito, so she changed her mind. Perito doesn't have a wish. Goldilocks wanted to have a real family, but then she decided the bears were a family all along. Jack wanted to be all-powerful, but everyone else stopped him before he could make that wish. I haven't seen this movie in a little while, and I remembered all of that.
What did I do to deserve this? I mean, what specifically?
This laugh.
Where are we headed anyways?
Off to find new adventures and to see some old friends.
Using Shrek as sequel bait when I prefer on keeping him far, far away.
And you're ending this video by sinning Shrek one last time. You know, the franchise that millions of people love and I've made countless videos of on this platform. Are you seriously not aware of any of that? And you're ending this video by sinning Shrek, what? No.